I recently bought this house for $1 and today I'm going to take you through a week of someone who just acquired a $1 house. The previous owner had a lot of vintage collectibles. There's so many cool things in here, but he is working with the auction company to sell a lot and get it out of here so that I can get it ready for move-in for me.
$1. That is all Tia Weston paid for a house. Just a single coin and a signature on a piece of paper. The internet lost its mind the moment that story broke. Everyone shared it. Everyone celebrated it. But almost nobody stopped to ask the one question that actually matters. What does a $1 house really cost you? Stay with us to know the answer and the full truth, because you deserve more than just the headline. The numbers right now. Let us start with 2026, because that is what you came here for. The most reliable estimates put Tia Weston's net worth at around $500,000. But here is the part almost every article misses. That $500,000 is not sitting in a savings account. It is not in stocks. It is not earning interest anywhere. It is locked inside walls, foundations, and floorboards. She is literally living inside her own investment portfolio. Her YouTube channel generates an estimated $12,000 to $15,000 every month. That sounds like serious money until you understand that YouTube takes 45% of all ad revenue before the creator sees a single cent. What remains after that cut gets poured straight back into the next renovation. The channel has published 280 videos and pulls a daily view floor of around 44,000 on its quieter days. YouTube is only one of 4 income engines. Her Facebook page has crossed 1 million likes with nearly 500,000 people engaging every week. Her Instagram holds 322,000 followers. Her TikTok sits at 279,000 followers with 3.7 million total likes. People who estimate her income by counting only YouTube are doing the equivalent of counting one wheel on a car that has 4. The home improvement and DIY niche commands some of the highest advertiser rates on the platform. Brands selling tools, building materials, insulation, and outdoor gear pay a premium to appear beside creators who actually use their products in punishing real conditions. That premium drives her earnings above what any lifestyle creator with the same audience would see. Every dollar that arrives gets converted into property value almost immediately. Liquid wealth stays minimal by design. The loop feeds itself as long as the camera keeps rolling. What almost nobody asks is how a health insurance worker from Louisville, Kentucky, ended up building this loop in one of the most remote corners of America. The answer starts with a pandemic, a mortgage she could no longer afford, and a decision that most people would never have the nerve to make. The decision that burned the boats. During the COVID-19 pandemic, a health insurance salary that had been covering a Louisville mortgage stopped being enough. The gap between income and outgoings kept widening, and there was no obvious way to close it. Most people in that position look for a second income stream, cut expenses, and wait it out. The response here was different. The house got sold, the career got left behind, and the equity from that sale became the only financial foundation for whatever came next. In an interview with The Times, the moment got described without any dramatization. "I was living paycheck to paycheck, and the mortgage is so high, and I sold that house, and that's how I moved to North Dakota." No transition period, no safety net preserved quietly in the background. One state, one career, one identity exchanged for a blank slate in one of the coldest and most sparsely populated corners of the country. The detail that almost every article skips over entirely is what happened immediately after arriving. Before any $1 house, before any audience, before any camera pointed at a crumbling wall. A property in North Dakota was purchased for $60,000, renovated from top to bottom, and sold for a $30,000 profit. That transaction happened with no viewers, no content revenue, and no one watching. It was the private proof of concept, the moment the instinct got confirmed before the world was ever invited in. None of that work came with formal training. No plumbing certification, no electrical license, no carpentry background. The same self-reliance visible in the SUV camping content, where a full pull-out kitchen was built inside a Buick Enclave, shows up in every renovation decision. This operating style was not created for an audience. It predates the channel entirely. The channel is simply where it became visible. With $30,000 in profit from that first flip and the Louisville equity still available, the search for the next property began. The first deal collapsed when the foundation inspection came back compromised. Standing in front of that failed deal, the seller said something offhand that redirected everything. He mentioned another house, one he had grown up inside, one the local fire department had already scheduled to burn to the ground, and then he named the price he would take for it, the $1 house. The seller was not offering a bargain. He was trying to save a memory. His childhood home had deteriorated so severely the fire department had claimed it for training purposes, meaning the plan was to set it alight deliberately and let it burn as a controlled exercise. He could not watch that happen. So he made an offer that was less a real estate transaction and more an act of desperation dressed as generosity. The conversation was described to the Times directly. So he's like, I would basically give this house away if someone was willing to fix it. And then, it was his childhood home, so I think he had some good memories of it. It was actually going to go to a fire training course, where they would set it on fire because it was in that bad shape, and he didn't want to see that happen. The offer was considered, accepted, and the sale paperwork was drawn up for $1. What that dollar purchased was a 100-year-old two-bedroom structure with no running water, no heat, no functioning electricity, and no plumbing of any kind. Every system needed to be built from scratch. The reasoning was stated plainly. I knew that it would be a lot of work, but my mindset was that houses are expensive right now. Even if I was to spend like $30,000 on it, which is my goal for it, then I would still be in a significantly better place than if I was to buy just a normal house. The final total landed at approximately $40,000. That money covered structural repairs, a complete plumbing installation, full electrical rewiring, new windows across the entire property, and flooring in every room. These are the categories HGTV fast-forwards through because they are invisible in the finished product. They are also the categories that determine whether a building is livable or just watchable. Every inch of it was filmed. By the end, the relationship to the building had shifted. The house that was scheduled for incineration had become something worth preserving. The more I work on it, the more I realize that would have been such a loss, because the house has so much character, and it's just a beautiful home. It's all been a blessing so far. The audience watching all of it had shifted too. Something in how they related to what they were seeing changed permanently during that renovation. And it turned out to be the most commercially powerful thing that was never planned. Why millions feel invested in her walls. Every television renovation show follows the same contract, lasting 44 minutes with a crew working behind the scenes, where problems are introduced and then neatly solved, leading to a final reveal filled with music and emotion, so the viewer never feels real uncertainty because the format guarantees a happy ending before the show even begins. This content breaks that contract completely. When a pipe fails at 2 in the morning, the camera is there for the confusion and frustration before any solution exists. When the footage shows work happening at -20 degrees Fahrenheit on the North Dakota site, there is no score underneath it, and no cut to an explanation in hindsight. The viewer sits inside the problem in real time, with no guarantee of resolution before the video ends. This creates genuine stakes, which are something no production budget can manufacture. Because viewers have followed weeks of slow, difficult progress leading to a single moment, their engagement is real when that moment arrives. When the water turns on in the $1 house for the first time, the audience experiences an actual release of tension, because real tension had been building for weeks. The response crosses demographic lines that most online content cannot reach. The Times captured one comment from a subscriber that illustrates the depth of that connection precisely. A viewer wrote, "I just turned 74 last week. You are doing what I have dreamed of doing my whole adult life. This is my fantasy, so get after it, hun, and take me along." A 74-year-old and a 29-year-old do not usually inhabit the same content obsession. They meet here because the stakes read as real to anyone who has ever wanted to attempt something difficult. The comment section functions as something beyond feedback. It is openly used as a knowledge source. I have learned a lot from them because there are a lot of people who fix up houses for a living. So they'll leave comments saying, "I ran into this too. Here's how you do it." A lot of people shared information on what you might run into with an old house. Most creators would manage that admission carefully. Saying it plainly deepens the bond into something that functions less like a fan base and more like a working collective. What that collective cannot see from their screens is what it actually costs, operationally, to deliver a video every single Sunday from one of the most logistically brutal filming locations any creator in this genre has ever chosen to work from. The real cost of filming in the middle of nowhere. From the outside, the operation looks like a woman, a camera, and a hammer. From the inside, it is a solo media business running year-round inside an active construction site in a state where the climate is actively hostile to both the equipment and the person operating it. At negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, camera batteries fail faster, drone motors become unpredictable, and any mechanical component exposed to the elements is unreliable. Filming outdoors in those temperatures is not a creative challenge. It is a physical and logistical one that requires redundant gear, precise timing, and the willingness to lose footage to weather, because rescheduling in rural North Dakota in January is not always an option. The aerial landscape shots that define the visual identity of the channel require professional drone hardware built for extreme cold. Interior work in partially demolished rooms needs a separate camera system for low light, dust, and confined spaces. These are not consumer-grade purchases. Then there is the problem no city-based creator ever has to solve: getting the footage out. Rural North Dakota does not have urban broadband. Uploading high-resolution files requires satellite internet, which costs more than standard service, depends on unobstructed sky access, and gets disrupted by the same weather events being documented. By mid-2025, the holding costs began appearing in the content. Property taxes on distressed structures, insurance premiums that standard insurers will not offer on properties in this condition, heating bills across 6 or 7 consecutive months of North Dakota winter. These numbers appear not as complaints but as hard data, and that distinction matters commercially. The honesty drives the rate. The rate funds the next property. The content machine and the renovation operation are the same machine, and the moment one slows down, both collapse together. And the consequences of that are far more serious than most people watching on Sunday mornings have ever considered. What happens if she stops? The channel earns the income that funds the purchase. The renovation creates the content that keeps the channel earning. If one function slows, both slow at the same moment. The properties cannot be partially liquidated to cover a quiet month. Equity in a crumbling North Dakota house does not convert to cash on a schedule that matches an algorithm dip. When a creator at this scale takes a break, the algorithm redistributes attention to channels that are actively posting. View counts drop, ad revenue drops. Sponsorship rates, negotiated on recent performance metrics, drop with them. By the time posting resumes, the numbers that justified the previous rate no longer exist. The downward loop moves faster than the upward one always did. This fragility is most visible when you look at what the second property demands. Purchased for $15,000, this house has been sealed since its previous owner died in 2005. Nearly 20 years of undisturbed abandonment. The first walkthrough, filmed for YouTube, shows the details of that stillness. Cigarette butts stubbed out in ashtrays, dishes on the drying rack exactly where they were last placed, a calendar on the wall permanently stopped at December 2005. Beneath all of that preserved surface is structural damage that dwarfs the cosmetic problems. In the YouTube video, not only is there a lot of stuff left behind, but beneath it all, the foundation is crumbling. The plaster is falling off. And then, you can literally see straight into the basement, through the damaged floorboards. This project is harder than the $1 house in almost every structural category. The motivation for choosing properties in this specific town has nothing to do with content logistics. I live in such a small town, and there are so many houses here that are just sitting empty for years and years. So my goal is to bring them back to life and get people living in them. And every time I do that, or someone else in the town does that, it really helps out the town a lot. The camera documents the mission. The mission does not exist to serve the camera. Television production companies have come with offers that would eliminate the cash flow risk entirely. What happened next with those offers is the most revealing decision made since the $1 sale paperwork was signed. The silence that is the strategy. 322,000 Instagram followers, 18 posts. That ratio is not neglect. It is a philosophy made visible in a single number. Most creators treat their audience as a relationship requiring constant feeding. This one treats it as a contract requiring only the terms that actually matter. The current creator economy is built on a specific pressure. Reveal more, build more trust, grow faster. Relationships disclosed. Family brought into the frame. Personal struggles made into storylines. The market logic says radical transparency is the most reliable path to a loyal audience. That logic got examined and then rejected. A completely different calculation was made instead. Look at what does get shared, and the rule becomes obvious. The father appears on camera because he is on the job site doing real work. Budget numbers are disclosed because financial transparency is the core promise of the channel. Every disclosure is load-bearing. Nothing that does not serve the work gets through. No home address shared, no relationship confirmed, no family member turned into a narrative device. In an industry where personal disclosure is treated as the primary currency of growth, an audience of over 1 million people was built across platforms while releasing almost none of it. The audience grew, not despite the restraint, but directly because of it. A viewer who never gets the complete picture keeps returning for the next frame. There is also a practical layer to the silence that rarely gets discussed. A creator whose location, relationships, and daily movements are fully documented is a categorically different kind of target than one known only through deliberate, task-specific content. The privacy is not an aesthetic choice. It is a security decision woven into a branding decision, and the two cannot be separated. As for the television production companies, the history answers the question without a word needing to be said. An audience larger and more loyal than most cable networks draw on a strong night was built without a network budget, a development deal, or anyone directing what the content should look like. A television deal exchanges creative control for financial stability. For a creator whose commercial value rests entirely on unfiltered authenticity, the trade destroys the asset in the process of trying to secure it. The ceiling gets traded for a floor. What remains is an outline assembled from visible choices alone. A health insurance salary exchanged for a $1 deed. A condemned building rebuilt from bare structure with no formal training. A father on the tools, and a comment section that collectively knew more than any single contractor. A business built inside the renovation. A mission built inside the business. And now a second collapsed building. A crumbling foundation. A dead man's calendar on the wall. And nearly 1.5 million people tuning in every Sunday to see whether it holds. The $1 house is done. The $15,000 time capsule from 2005 is actively underway. The third property is already in her sights. And through all of it, not one detail has been shared that the work did not require. She traded a career and a mortgage for a condemned house, a frozen state, and a camera pointed at everything that could go wrong. The dollar was never the point. The follow-through was. Now, drop your thoughts below. What would you have done differently from day one?